Hey guys! We're doing this now, shut up. So I bet you weren't expecting to see me again so soon. To be honest, neither was I. After working on a video for nearly 2 months, I kinda assumed I'd be taking a well-earned break. You know, like touching grass, remembering what sunlight feels like, basic human things.
That's 3!
Yeah, let's go with that. But instead, here I am! Why? Because the voices refuse to let me rest. The day I finished my previous video, which you should totally go watch by the way, they were like, hey, you know what would be fun after spending 2 months on your last video? Immediately starting another one and spending the next month writing and rewriting the same script over and over to the point of insanity. And naturally, I listened, because why wouldn't I? That's never gone wrong before. Anyway, it was in the midst of a brainstorming session that someone brought a post from the Tears of the Kingdom subreddit to my attention. Now, normally I'd skim it, nod, and move on with my life. But this one? This one was different. As soon as I read it, I immediately knew that I had to make a video on it. No joke, this theory is probably one of the most interesting theories I've seen following Tears of the Kingdom's release. It has everything! A simple premise, a solid foundation, and best of all, it hurts your brain the longer you think about it. That's right, it's a time travel paradox, because Zelda and paradoxes just go together like bread and butter. So strap in, folks, we've got a theory to discuss. Oh, and by the way, did you know that the subscribe button functions a lot like the Master Sword? Yeah, only those worthy enough can actually hit it, so why not try your luck? Anyway, let's get on with the video. Okay, so before I properly dive into this theory, it's only right that I credit my sources. The post that inspired all of this was made by user CommonMechanic7247, who I'll just refer to as Mechanic from here on out, and it was created on January 22nd of this year. In it, Mechanic details how they believe they might have found an example of the bootstrap paradox within Tears of the Kingdom. For those of you who aren't aware, the bootstrap paradox is one of the more infamous headaches in time travel logic. Wikipedia defines it as, quote, a time travel paradox in which the consequences of an event in the future travel back in time and cause an event in the past or present, which in turn is among the causes of the first event, forming a causal loop in which each event is caused by the other. To put it in terms that you could understand, it's when something in the future influences the past in a way that it causes that thing to exist in the first place. Now, if this definition sets off some alarm bells, congratulations, you get a prize. Yay! What do I win? A sad feeling. Aww. This is the exact same kind of paradox that we see in Ocarina of Time with the Song of Storms. As an adult, Link can visit the windmill in Kakariko and speak to the Windmill Man, who will complain about how a kid with an ocarina came in 7 years ago and played a strange song that messed up the windmill. After learning the Song of Storms, Link can go back in time and visit the windmill as a child, where he can teach the Song of Storms to the Windmill Man. This subsequently drains the well and messes up the windmill in the process. This raises the question, where did the Song of Storms actually come from? The Windmill Man teaches adult Link the song in the future, but that's only because child Link taught him the song in the present. There is no clear origin for the Song of Storms, making its existence a paradox. This, as Mechanic suggests, is the same thing we see in Tears of the Kingdom with a particular object, the Purah pad. At first, that might not make a lot of sense. After all, the Purah pad is essentially an upgraded version of the Sheikah slate. Nothing about that screams paradox, right? Well, yeah. Unless you start to look deeper. The evidence of the Purah pad's existence being a paradox comes from the third memory, Mineru's Council. You might remember it as the memory that spoiled the plot twist of the Light Dragon's true identity. What you may not remember, however, is how it begins.
It is quite an interesting device. This is definitely not from this era. That said, I believe there may be a way to get the travel functionality working here. I'd like to tinker with it a bit. Would it be okay if I borrow it?
Yes, whatever you need. I really appreciate your help.
Then I'll hold on to it.
Mineru takes the Purah pad to tinker with it, and she's successfully able to restore the teleportation functionality. It's very likely that this is the reason that a Sheikah-made device is able to teleport to Zonai structures. However, this likely wasn't the only thing that Minoru did. If there's one thing we know about Minoru, it's that she's a scholar. In An Unfamiliar World, Rauru states that she's an expert on the Zonai, and in Minoru's council, we see that her study in the castle is filled with books, papers, and other research materials. She is exactly the kind of person who wouldn't pass up the opportunity to study something unfamiliar. And when you're deep in research, there's a very good chance that you're taking notes. What Mechanic suggests is that while she was tinkering with the Purah pad, Minoru was taking notes about its design and functionalities. She very likely opened it up to find out how it works, with her attempt at restoring the teleportation functionality being successful. We even see as much in Birth of the Demon King, with Zelda using the Purah pad to get herself, Rauru, and Sonia, or at least her corpse, out of danger. It's fairly likely that she wanted to continue her research, perhaps even reverse engineer a similar device using Zonai tech, but she never got the chance. When Ganondorf became the Demon King, Minoru assisted her brother, Zelda, and the other sages in the fight, but she was mortally wounded. Knowing that her body would soon give out on her, Minoru's spirit entered the Purah pad so she could assist Link in the future. With everyone gone, this left her study, along with the rest of the Zonai castle, abandoned, with no trace of it being left in the present day. Whatever knowledge held within was lost to time, until someone rediscovered it. This theory suggests that Minoru's research on the Purah pad was discovered by the ancient Sheikah. Being the advanced people they were, they studied these notes to learn the intricacies of this mysterious, and to their knowledge, conceptual device. Eventually, they decided to reverse engineer it, creating none other than the Sheikah Slate. Hear that? That was the sound of your mind getting blown. From here, we know the rest of the story. It's uncovered before the Great Calamity, kept in Zelda's possession, bestowed to Link during the events of Breath of the Wild, returned to Zelda upon Ganon's defeat, and given to Purah to research, which leads her to create the Purah pad. And therein lies the paradox. If this theory is to be believed, then the Sheikah Slate and Purah pad have no clear point of origin. Much like the Song of Storms before them, they exist within a time loop where the existence of one leads to the creation of the other. I told you this theory was cool! Of course, I can't just make this absurd claim without any real evidence to back it up and expect you to believe it like a bunch of sheep. That's for the politicians to do. But is there any real evidence to suggest that the ancient Sheikah were inspired by Zonai records? Again, yeah. The Divine Beasts. Chronologically, we know that the ancient sages came before the ancient Sheikah constructed the Guardians in the Divine Beast, and if we look at the helmets of the sages, we can see that they bear a striking resemblance to the 4 Divine Beasts that we're familiar with. Now this could be brushed away as the developers wanting to throw in a reference to the previous game as a way to better connect the two games, because there's not much else that makes Tears of the Kingdom feel like a sequel to Breath of the Wild besides sharing the same map and characters. What, did you think I was going to continue that? No, that's exactly what this is. What the fuck else do you want from me? But if I were to suggest this as something other than a deliberate reference to make the player mimic Leonardo DiCaprio in that one meme, the resemblance could very well mean that not every piece of information about the Zonai was lost or destroyed by the time the ancient Sheikah came along. Perhaps in addition to records detailing the design and functions of the Purah pad, Minoru also had records about the ancient sages with depictions of their helmets. With these records in hand, the ancient Sheikahs then decided to model and more than likely name their new weapons of defense after the sages that had defended Hyrule before them. With all of this in mind, the idea that the Purah pad being a paradox, at least to me, isn't as far-fetched as you would initially think. If this theory is true, then the entire time you've been playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you are using glorified time-traveling iPads with the ability to manipulate space, time, and matter while having no discernible point of origin. And you used one to take a selfie with Ganondorf. Well, at least it'll look great on the mantle. But I think that's enough from me for today. I wanted to try to get this video out in February, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, here it is now. I want to try and release more videos this year, as I really just wasn't that motivated as I wanted to be last year, and I figured that this could also be a really good time for me to try and spice up my content a bit in an effort to stand out from the crowd. Hence the wolf. I think I'll give this new style a try for a few videos and see how I like it. And if you guys have any feedback, then please comment down below and tell me what you think I can do better, or if this was just worse in every conceivable way. Either way, I get engagement from it, so works for me. With that being said, be sure to like and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you guys whenever I upload again.